All right, everybody. It's Sunday morning, real early, and I figured we'd just practice some being here. One of the ways I can do this is describing something. I don't know, the whole thing is like a fencing match with my mind. But to make the battle a little more clear, we can give it something to do, focus on something. This is definitely a technique or something that you hear lots of places. Take an object and focus on it, right? Hear that all the time. Awesome. So I'm actually going to do it with this little tree out back here that I can see through the window, okay? I'm not going to hold it. I like to touch it, but I'm not going to now because it's cold outside. But I think the strategy is, let me just say a little bit, the strategy is to give the mind something focused to do by actually describing it, just with words. As much as I can, just descriptions of what it's like here. This is a practice because it's actually linked somewhere in reality, in right now. This is not what happened yesterday, what's going to happen. This is a presence practice because it's right here. We're still talking, but we're talking at least about something that is actually here. It's real, okay? There's this tree out back that I can describe. It's not amorphous. It's a real thing. It's an object. And then we're going to see what the mind wants to do, it does do, and what it feels like to describe something. There's a reason why this is hard. And I'll give it away. The reason is the mind gets bored. That's it. The mind is too strong. It gets bored with such a simple task. It's like, why am I doing this? And it goes somewhere else. Okay? So most of the time, the recommendation is pick some object that doesn't remind you of other stuff. It doesn't even have words on it, anything like that. Because it'll remind you, it'll take you away. So that's more advanced. If you just if you're holding a little ball in your hand, okay, cool. A lot simpler. So describe something and then see what the mind does, basically. But be here with it. And pay attention to it, what it wants to do. Okay, so I'm just going to start with this lovely tree in the back. So it's small. It's only 2 feet tall. It's an evergreen, so it has little needles. It's sitting in a ceramic pot that's blue. That's about a foot tall, maybe half a foot. Diameter. And it maybe has like a foot of a trunk, which is maybe like an inch around. It's small. And then the crown, or whatever you call it, with where the green is and the branches, is maybe also like a foot, a sphere that's like a foot diameter. It has, let's see, how many branches does it have? It has the one main one, and then it has maybe 5 or 6 that come off at the top. It's growing at the very top. But it's, like I said, like a sphere. And then off those main branches, maybe it has like 100 branches total. And it's light green, and the areas where it's some of the branches where I guess it's new growth are lighter green than the older growth. And there's a little bit of snow in the pot because it snowed a while ago, and it's being held up by a thick wooden, like I think it's the old handle of a broom or something like that, tied with a ribbon to the trunk. And it's on a little table that's like a 1.5 feet off the ground, made out of wood. And the needles, I don't know if I mentioned, they're small. So it's not like one of those big evergreens. It's a small needled evergreen. And some of the branches are a little bit droopy. So they're not all growing to the side. They grow down and they grow up. The trunk is very straight. And it's brown and wrinkly. Now, what else can I say about it? I hear the cats running around. I'm still looking at it. Now what's happening? My mind wants to go elsewhere. The refrigerator is humming. There's something like hanging out there on the clothesline. It wants to go elsewhere. My toes are moving. My mind is antsy. But I can keep looking at the tree. Just looking at it. I can think about when I trimmed it. So that's an association. I'm looking at the tree and I'm thinking about when I trimmed it. Then I could even judge it. Did I trim it well? Should I have trimmed it that other way? That's not the present anymore. The present is right here. And the present is quiet. What can I say about it? I described it already. What more you got, mind? What else you got? I mean, you got nothing. That's the whole thing. The mind it's a describer. It doesn't sit here and spend time with a tree. That's boring. I'm done with it. I described it. I did what I do. There's nothing else to do. Oh, I'm so bored. It's a tree. It does not get that this tree is alive, that there are a billion things going on in this tree that it has no clue about. I mean, I just described, my mind just described the outside, the visual sense, about this tree. That's it. Obviously not even the touch. The feeling of it, la la la. The mind thinks that it knows this tree and is done with it because it had some descriptions, some visual descriptions about it. And the tree is alive, right? It's a huge mystery. It's alive. It grows, it changes, it moves. That seashell over there is no longer part of a living organism. The living organism made it, but now it's just sitting there. It's going to fall apart. That's even different. This tree is like alive. my 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 mind thinks that like there's nothing else to it. But I'm getting distracted. My mind wants to go elsewhere. Let's just leave it at that. It is very bored. It has nothing else to. It has nothing else to do with this tree. So I mean, the strategy really can be: you can keep focusing on this tree, this object, whatever you pick. Your mind will run out of stuff to say about it, and that's the whole point. But does it really, does whatever you said about it, did that really capture what this thing is? And the beauty of it is, of course, we can do this with anything, at any time. The kitty has a bag or something. At any time with any object, we can practice this. And I think this helps. This helped me on a broader scale. Strategically, like I didn't even really know I was doing this, but my mind had a lot of stuff to get out. 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so I wrote a lot. Many, 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 many pages, constantly writing. And then, 10 years later or more, that stream started to slow down. It was just like, okay, I said this already. My mind got bored with itself, or it got worn out a little bit. I can still talk for forever. But just to see that the mind has a bunch of stuff that it wants to say, and that's cool. And if we never give it the chance to say those things, it's going to start yelling for sure, also. But it runs out. And so this little practice is a little microcosm of that kind of idea too. Where, go ahead, brain, do your thing that you do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's not all there is. You can describe stuff, but that's not all there is to that thing. At all. So you can use that fact to kind of get more in touch with what is actually going on. Because your mind is trying to take you away. In general. It doesn't like the present very much. That's not its powerful home. Alright, that's it for today. Something a little different. Bye.